Today I will be demonstrating the new visualization and navigation that users with anomalies, with more than 100 anomalies in their agency or bureau, can use and should use during this next anomaly cycle. We have implemented this dashboard to, as I said, allow for better visualization and hopefully filtering and organization of the anomalies. I'm going to first begin just showing where you can see this dashboard. So this, if you were logging in as a Anomaly user, this is the regular homepage you would see. Previously, you would go to the Anomaly VNV tab, but instead we are going to go to the Dashboards tab, which will, if I click that, it will filter for a couple of seconds as it renders the page, just getting the live data, etc. And once that happens, you will be brought to this type of screen. For this video purpose, I have logged in as a user in a development sandbox, so the numbers are not accurate. This is just something that I built in order to make it easy to see how this system will work. So as a user, as this user that I'm logged into, I only have access to General Services Administration data. So if you're a user with one agency, you're going to see only one agency in this agency dropdown. Same for if you're a user with only a bureau, you will see only the bureau in that agency dropdown. One thing to note is if you are a user with multiple agencies, you're going to initially be brought to a screen that is only showing the first agency's data. You will have to go to this agency filter and press the All button to see data for all of them at once. But the way that the system initially defaults is that you only see the data for that one agency that comes up in alphabetical order. So I should say the first agency that comes up in alphabetical order. So just to begin, we can see all of these different filtering options up here. You can filter by the agency, the bureau, the anomaly category, the anomaly status, and who owns the anomaly, and also the year. So as I already went over the agency and bureau, I will click on the agency or the anomaly category to demonstrate. You're going to see options here of different categories. These categories hopefully look familiar as they are the list views that you would normally see your data in previous years when you've done the anomalies. So the way that this works is that if you do not have an anomaly in a category, so let's say that as GSA, I didn't have any anomalies related to owned operating cost per square feet warehouse. That would mean that in this dropdown, you will not see that category there. So that's just one thing to note, that you might think that you're not seeing all of the different categories. That's because you don't have anomalies necessarily with all the categories. You can also filter by the anomaly status, and with both of all of these filters, they're multi-select. So if I wanted to see all the data related to both the least cost per square feet office, and I just have to wait for it to filter, and the other least cost per square feet warehouse, you can see that it in real time is changing the data and filtering it for me. So moving down into the matrix and the KPIs, the unique assets here are the unique assets that are related to these anomalies. So this number will stay the same no matter what you pick. It's going to stay the same. It is the unique assets for all of the anomalies, no matter the category, status, etc. So you will never see this number change as you do different sort of filters. What you will see change is the unique anomalies. That one, this number and the numbers associated here and here, and then also in this graphic below, which I will demonstrate in a little bit, will change in real time. So in this case, we have, I've picked, least cost per square feet office, per square feet warehouse, and owned operating cost per square feet office, I believe. And there's 399 anomalies related to that. In this case, because it is the year 2017, there are no unresolved anomalies, but when you do first log into your system this year, this number will be pretty big because there will be a lot of anomalies that you have not resolved. You will also see the number confirmed or affirmed, and also the percentage in total of how much that relates to the amount of anomalies in general that you have. So in this case, 98.25% have been affirmed. You will see previously affirmed, which will tell you that these anomalies last year or years previously you have okayed as being a correct data and is not an anomaly. So you'll see that number, and you will also see error CAS. Over here, you will see this bar chart. In this case, again, these are all affirmed, but when you do log in, it's going to be, let's say 0 affirmed and 399 unresolved. And then as you go and do your data back and forth, and you're going and changing your data to either unresolved or error or previously affirmed, etc., this will change with that, as will this gauge chart here. So moving down, this visualization is very, very helpful because it will show you all of the different data in just a different way. So again, we have the green is the affirmed, the lightest or the other green is the error, and then when you do have previously affirmed and unresolved, those colors will also filter in, and it will show you how many you are talking about with each category. So in this case, 399 anomalies, which are related to, as I said, these 3 categories here. If I were to take off or add another category, I'm going to see that add right there as well. So everything changes, as I said, except for this one number. So what's really great about this new visualization is you're able to filter based off of multiple different criteria. So if I want to see every single filter or every single category related to error CAS, I can say all, and I'm going to see those 2 categories. So this is actually a good point for me to show. When I clicked on error CAS as the anomaly status, you can see that the anomaly category list went down to only 2 different categories. And that's because, as I mentioned earlier, there are only 2 different categories that have anomalies with that status. So if I were to then add in affirmed, I'm going to see this list get bigger again because more anomalies are related to those different anomaly categories. Anomaly owned by, just briefly, that will not show anything until, let's say you're in an agency with 2 different users who are doing anomalies, and one of your counterpart goes in and starts to work on a couple of anomalies. Once they perform a specific action, which I will show in a second, once they do that, then their name will be associated with those anomalies. And if you want, you log in and you see that he or she has done some work, you can click on, I only want to see what he's done, or I only want to see what I've done, etc. And you can also filter between the years. One thing to note is that if you are an anomaly, or if you're an anomaly user in multiple different either bureaus or agencies, if you have clicked all for the agencies, so let's say that it has 5 agencies right here, and you move to 2016, which for whatever reason you were in one more agency last year, or one more agency last year had anomalies, so it should be 6 agencies. You're going to have to re-click the all button here to make sure that it's encompassing all of the data. This will not be an issue if you're an agency that has, if you're a user, that has only one agency. But again, just when you're switching between the years, if you are a user with more than one agency, just quickly double check that you are looking at all the correct data. You don't want to be making, speculations or making judgments based off of data that is not encompassing everything. So let's say that these are the filters I want to be looking at. I then move down to here, and this chart is showing all 222. It would go down all the way. and all of the data that I might need here related to each anomaly. So you're able to kind of see a quick grab here, but then really what you're going to want to do, let's say that all of these were unresolved and I wanted to go start to resolve them. You're going to click on this button and go to the send to list view. So this action is the action that then means that for these 222 anomalies, my name is going to be associated with those anomalies under that anomaly owned by filter that I was talking about before. So one thing to note that is really important, you're going to want to make sure that you are able to allow for pop-ups on your screen, because in order for this to generate, you do need to press OK. So if you are looking at anomalies that are only, or a list of anomalies that is less than 200, you're not going to get that pop-up, and it's going to immediately go to this screen. If you're looking at a list of anomalies that's 200 to 1,000, or to 2,000, excuse me, or to 1,000, yes, you're going to get a pop-up that just says what just actually popped up, which was like, it might take up to 5 minutes, etc. If you get something over 2,000, if you're bringing over anomalies over 2,000, you're going to get a pop-up that tells you that only the first 2,000 are going to be shown on the next screen. So one thing to note is if you're looking at something that is 2001 anomalies and you decide you want to bring it over to the list view, you're going to only see that first 2,000, and then you're going to need to go back and grab that last one and do what you need to do with it. Okay, so hopefully this screen looks a little more familiar. It's how the process has always worked previously. You're going to be brought to the list view of with the anomalies. Depending on if you clicked multiple categories, let's say I'd only clicked one category. If I were to only have one category clicked, let me just get that set up real quick and send it to list view. I am going to see that I am brought directly to that list view category. So here I was specifically brought to the least cost per square feet office. And that's important because if you're doing that, you are able to see the data that is relevant to that category on this initial screen. If you are bringing over more than one category at a time, which is what I did that first instance, you're brought to the general list view of all Einstein anomalies. And the reason that that's a little bit different is, or the way that it's a little bit different is that you're just seeing the generic data here and you're not seeing anything specific to these particular anomaly categories. But just like previous years, you can export it to Excel and get that data that you do need. So again, you're going to, once you're here, the same process for editing and making the changes to the anomalies is the same. It's just really the navigation to get there. Another thing to note is that unlike in previous years, you would have only seen from this all anomalies down in the list view. You're going to now see the same categories but with an asterisk in front of it. And that's because these categories with the asterisks in front of it incorporate the Einstein anomalies, which is what this database is called, or this dashboard is called. So it is just the way for the system to know that it's bringing over anomalies from Einstein or this dashboard. So if you were to be going in as a user, let's say that you've already done all of this, you've been looking at it, and then you just decide to come in real quick and just go straight to the Anomaly V&V tab, you're going to want to use the old list views because they're going to be they're not associated with the Einstein, so it's going to work cohesively that way. So just long story short, if you're using Einstein, it will automatically bring you to a list view that has an asterisk in front of it. If you're not using Einstein, you're going to want to use only the list views without the asterisks in front of it. So that is essentially the way the dashboard works. You also have documentation here, which just kind of tells you a little bit more about what's going on, a little bit basically what I just told you. as well. So some of these things aren't necessarily pertaining to every single user. So for instance, here, this view is only for oversight users who see multiple agencies, or for users that have multiple agencies, excuse me. This is a better way of looking at, or better view of that previously affirmed in there as well. So you can see all of the categories with all the different statuses, and here is just telling you the bulk action and what you need to do with it. The last thing to note is that if I were to make a change on this anomaly here and I made it change, I changed it to unresolved. If I go back to this dashboard immediately, I'm not going to see that number change in real time. So you have to wait an hour for the numbers to update. So in real time, when you pick the filters, these numbers do filter around, as you've seen previously. But what doesn't happen is when you make changes from this list view, it takes an hour for the system to update it here. So if you go and make a change and then you come over here and you don't see anything change, that's not because it didn't work. You just need to come back in an hour and you will see those numbers filter out. As always, the help desk is there for any help if you have any questions or comments, and there also is a user guide that has the updated versions of this dashboard on it to help with any questions that you might have. Thank you very much.